Hey everyone, I'm so excited about today's episode, but first want to let you know that this show is made possible by FortuneBuilders. I also want to take a minute to invite you guys to an amazing opportunity to learn from some of the top experts in the real estate industry about how to get started in real estate or scale an existing business to the next level. FortuneBuilders is hosting a one-day webinar to help you learn about real estate investing in today's market. So throughout the show, if you feel like you're ready to get started, go to FortuneBuildersShow.com to register. Again, that's FortuneBuildersShow.com to register. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, you'll find a link right below the show so you can get there that way as well. And please remember that the content of this show and every show is for educational purposes only. Myself or our guests are not going to be providing any legal, financial, or professional advice. If we share specific results, they are attributed to an individual or a business, and we can't guarantee the results will happen for you, those earnings or the income will match those figures. The bottom line is there's always risk when investing in real estate. You can make a lot of money or you can lose a lot of money, and it's hard work. But that doesn't mean we can't have fun doing it. So let's get into today's episode.
From a team that has $1 billion in real estate investment experience. A show to help you learn the strategies and systems it takes to get started investing in real estate. This is the Fortune Builders Real Estate Investing Show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fortune Builders Real Estate Investing Show. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cats and dogs around the world, welcome to another fantastic episode. I'm honored and privileged to be joined by none other than Dan Wright, Director of Acquisitions at CT Homes, once again for another fantastic CT Homes case study. Coming at you live. Dan, you excited?
I'm excited, especially knowing cats and dogs are watching.
I mean, around the world.
Around the world.
Not just locally.
That's amazing.
Around the world. We got a action-packed, energetic, high speed, low speed, side speed, whatever you want to call it, case study that we're going to go over today. But before we get to that, we got to go over the term of the week. It's not the word of the week because there's multiple words. The term of the week is fluff and buff.
Now, is that named after you and me, Fluff, and I'm Buff?
We're like Ren and Stimpy. Fluff and buff. Now, some of you are thinking, holy cow, what kind of show you got for us today, JD? It's a good one. You'll find out what that means and what it means and how we apply it to the case study we're going over and how it can potentially make you a lot of money if you look at your deals this way. You know what? Let's get rocking. Okay, here we go. Another case study. Is this the third one? I think it's the third one, Dan. Am I right?
At least three.
Yeah, at least three. We got an awesome term of the week to go over and get to. And we've broken down the case study the same way that we have previously. We want to give you the ins and outs of the acquisition side, talk about the rehab, which is really where the term of the week applies this week to this deal. And then we'll talk about the sales because this is very recent, hot off the press, like days ago we sold it. So fresh, it's still steaming from the activity of the property. And we're going to break all that down. But before we talk about that, Dan, I can't make this stuff up. Seems like Del Taco just really circles back to the podcast. What are we having for lunch today?
Well, we are having Del Taco.
We are having Del Taco, and I'm not making that up. What did you order today? Just out of curiosity.
I always go for their grilled chicken burrito with the grilled chicken with two soft tacos.
Two soft tacos. So you've got a grilled chicken burrito and two grilled chicken soft tacos.
Yeah,
so it's chicken day for you.
It's a chicken day with fries, of course.
Of course.
And Del Scorcho sauce.
Del Scorcho. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a fantastic order. Their menu is extensive. I didn't realize that by looking at it online today. I went with, if you're curious, Dan.
I am curious, yeah.
I went with the classic staple bean and cheese burrito with red sauce. And then I you heard me say it earlier, I went back to my normal order in my 30s, which was more food than I really should be eating. But I went to my 30s, my 30 years order, and I got two grilled chicken soft tacos.
Okay.
I did get fries because you cannot not get fries.
Yeah, why go there if you're not going to?
Seriously.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be uncomfortable after lunch today, but in a good way.
Did you get avocado on there?
I didn't get avocado. You know, they actually have decent guacamole there, but the reality is that my staple order doesn't usually include guacamole or avocado, but it's a good idea.
Yeah. And we should let the viewers know that we don't normally eat at Del Taco every day.
Well, no, not every day.
We do eat pretty healthy. It's a cheat day.
Yeah, it is a cheat day. Excuse me. It is a cheat day, and I'm so excited. My voice is cracking. This is crazy. All right, enough about Del Taco. Let's get into the case study today. And like we've done before, we're going to break down this deal from start to finish so you can learn from it. So if you pay attention, if you're listening, or if you're watching, you're going to learn a lot. You're going to get the ins and outs of how we make money at CT Homes. And this is a great example to learn from. If you're listening and not watching, I would highly suggest that you spend the time to go back and watch this episode because we got visuals and we got photos that will highlight and accentuate what we're talking about.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't talk about fluff and buff without seeing visuals.
Yeah, people are they're so excited for what does fluff and buff mean? I thought this was a real estate podcast. We're going to get to it. All right, so we're going to break down this property. And like we've done before, we'll start with the acquisition side of things and talk about this particular property. Now, the property that we're discussing is a home that we recently bought, fixed, and sold at CT Homes in Spring Valley, California, which is we call it a suburb of San Diego?
Yeah, you call it
a suburb, I
Yeah.
guess. On San Miguel Avenue. Now, if you're watching right now, or when you go back and watch and you see this photo, you might think it was voted the least likely house to succeed visually in Spring Valley. It's not an attractive home. Not every home is the initial American dream from the outside. I'm not sure why they went with the wall in front like that. They could have broken that up. You'll see what we did to that, but it's a good example of, what we did to it is a good example of a very low cost way to, make it look better. And we'll get to that, but.
And what helps is when you have a neighbor to the left, that's, in my words, a hideous house. It makes yours look even better.
Yeah, you're right. If you're looking at the house to the left, it makes ours look like a Malibu beachfront property. So talk a little bit about the acquisition. Let's do location first, and then I've got a slide that breaks down some of the big components of the acquisition. But Dan, talk a little bit about Spring Valley and where it's located and some of the pros, I guess, and maybe cons as well of this neighborhood.
Yeah, so Spring Valley, it's 10 to 15 miles from the harbor, so from the water. It's borderline East County.
Yeah.
So, once you get out past the 125, it gets a lot hotter. It's
like
more
15
affordable out
degrees
there.
Hotter sometimes.
Yeah, easily.
20 degrees.
Yeah, so this is it's definitely more affordable to live out there. You can get more land. Not every house is like that, but it's as you get priced out of the more expensive areas like we did Tawi last week, or if you're closer to Balboa Park, it's your values can be significantly less.
Anytime you get closer to water, the ocean or the bay, values spike up. And the other thing about Spring Valley that is not unique to San Diego, but not in every neighborhood, is the topography varies, and there are a lot of properties that are affordable that have really unique view corridors because of where they're located on the hills. And this particular one on San Miguel is a great example of that.
Yeah, so this is on, it's actually called Dictionary Hill.
There you go.
Is what we're on. So, fun fact for you, JD. You may not know this.
Maybe not.
In the 1800s, it was.
Whoa,
yeah,
you're going way back.
Yeah, this is a true history lesson here.
All right.
It was called Lookout Mountain.
Okay.
And they used it, as you can see the harbor, the blue water down there. That's where they were set up to see the ships coming into the harbor. And so that was the original use of that mountain.
Lookout Mountain.
Lookout Mountain. In the early 1900s, nobody wanted to live there. It's pretty steep. It's hilly. It's like you said, the topography, you do get views, but it's challenging to build. A lot of boulders. There was a encyclopedia salesman who was selling encyclopedias. This is true. I'm not making this up.
You're not a BSer. I know that, but this is some good stuff.
So he bought it, and I forget if it was like $150. He bought 40 acres on Dictionary Hill, Lookout Mountain at the time.
Mountain.
Yeah. So he subdivided it into the lots, And then he went around and said, if you buy a set of encyclopedias, you get a lot. You get a free lot.
Oh my gosh.
And he would sell the encyclopedias for like $100, $125.
And you got a lot.
And you got a lot. Over time, that switched from encyclopedias to dictionaries. And then that's how it got the name Dictionary Hill.
That is a fantastic history lesson
Yeah.
on Dictionary Hill,
Yeah.
Dan.
And the reason I share that, it goes back to what we always talk about, knowing your market.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
you know, when I moved here, I never knew that, but you know, as we live here now and we sell houses there, you need to know what you're selling.
Yeah.
So as you know, we're going to get into acquisitions, but we need to know what we're buying, and then when it goes to sales, you know what you're selling, and a little history about your neighborhood never hurts.
Never hurts. That's fantastic. And by no means do you need to know what happened to in the 1800s on properties you're buying, but it doesn't hurt. I mean, that level of detail that you just went through is fantastic. And you know, you're talking to someone, a neighbor that's been there a long time, or an agent when you go to sell the home. Those little things make a difference. It actually makes me wish we had held on to it. Now,
Well, good news, we can buy another one over there.
Okay, yeah, you're right. So to summarize, like, market knowledge is so important. I mean, obviously the stats of a deal and the stats of a neighborhood and the stats of a zip code, vitally important, but there's more than just numbers, right? There's actual history. And man, that was fantastic knowledge. I wish I had bought a set of encyclopedias from him back then and got a lot for $100.
Well, what would be amazing is to buy a house that had those original encyclopedias in it.
Oh, wow.
And then give that to the next owner.
That would be great. And with the internet now, it's not that difficult to research your properties from you know, top to bottom, if you will. All right, so why don't you break down, Dan, the acquisition strategy, if you will, and the deal or the source of the deal, numbers. Got some of that up on the screen, but break it down for us.
All right, so this house was listed on the MLS, and it was priced at $760. So, you know, we did see it when we filtered every day because we go through every listing. And it just so happened it was listed by an agent that we had done a deal previously with about 6 months earlier.
Okay. So recent relationship with them.
That agent did not send it to us. He felt like it wouldn't be a fit for us at the time. And when we filtered it, it wasn't initially we also agreed with that. It wasn't an obvious fit for us as well.
Because of the general condition of it?
Exactly. Yeah.
We'll see that in a moment.
It was priced kind of close to ARV, and the condition wasn't bad. So, you know, it's, you know, we call the agent anyway, and he did tell us, he's like, yeah, I didn't think of you guys on this one. I don't think it's for you, but I'll keep you posted. So they did go into escrow with a traditional homeowner who was going to live there.
Okay.
At $730.
$730.
So they were $30K below list price.
Okay.
And all was well. You know, we put it on the back burner into the follow-up bucket, and we worked on other deals. 3 weeks later, he called us, and he's like, hey, do you guys remember that house on San Miguel on Dictionary Hill?
On Dictionary Hill.
We sure do.
We sure do.
He said the buyer got cold feet, something with their loan, something happened.
Yeah.
So it was looking like it was going to cancel. The owner, who was in the military, he was relocating, already moved out. Now he's in a position he has to sell. They don't have time.
So there's the motivation.
That's the motivation. So he said, he's like, the seller's looking for $730. It's like, okay, well, we let's look at numbers.
Yeah.
So we went to the property. Like we mentioned, the word of the week, fluff and buff. You know, we talk about that because this isn't your standard rip everything out
Full
and
gut.
start over.
Yeah.
This is half the house is nice. Let's work with what we have so that we can hold it for less. Our scope of work is less. And by that, we can get more.
We can pay a little bit more for the property than, you know, obviously if we had to do a full gut.
Exactly.
Because of all that.
So we went to the property. We analyzed it. We determined our budget was going to be in the 50, 60K ballpark, where normally it would be well over 100,000 for a house like this.
For a home of this size.
So we told the agent, you know, we can pay $667. And that is, and this agent's super cool. You know, he's not, you know, he wasn't like, I'm going to represent you and I want the relist.
He didn't care.
He didn't care. He's like, I want to get this sold. I want to get my seller as much as possible.
Which is an agent's responsibility.
That is. Yep. So that was our deal. We were at 667, self-represented, meaning we brought in that commission, the 2.5% commission, which gave us an effective net purchase price of $650.
Yeah. So if you go online and you see this property when we bought it, for those of you listening and watching, like Dan just mentioned, it closed in our ownership when we bought it at 667. But our internal at CT Homes effective purchase price is actually 650 because I, JD Asajan, represented CT Homes as the buyer, but I, JD Asajan, do not put the commission in my pocket. We use it to reduce, in this case, it was 17K. We use it to reduce the effective purchase price. So when we start the books in QuickBooks, our purchase price was 650. And that's a big chunk.
That is a
right?
big chunk.
I mean, that's
yeah.
17K. That can be a make or break a deal. So lesson there for those of you listening and watching, cats and dogs, boys and girls, men and women, is not every agent has to represent you as the buyer. And some care, some don't care, and some do, but you don't know unless you ask. So don't assume that the relist or them representing you is always needed. And there are two numbers that you can pay depending on that scenario. And we've learned that over the years.
Exactly. So, we gave him our number. We're at 667. And, he was like, I was hoping it'd be a little bit more.
Sure.
And so did we.
Yeah.
It is what it is. And he went to a seller and he's like, hey, here's a cash offer as is closing next week. Or if you want, we can go back on market.
Yeah.
And, it was November of last year. And, things slow down around the holidays.
Yeah.
And
That's my son's birthday. That's Luke's birthday.
yeah, happy birthday, Luke.
Yeah. He turned 5 on that day.
It's a good day.
Yeah, it's a great day.
So ultimately, the seller did decide he wanted the ease of the transaction and just be done with it. So they did take our price and we opened escrow.
Another lesson there, ladies and gentlemen that are watching and listening, is the price that someone has a property marketed for, here in this case the multiple listing service, and what you can pay are usually not the same number. And even when your number of what you can pay is much different or much lower than what someone wants for the home, doesn't mean that they won't accept your offer. But if you never submit it, you don't have a chance, right? So you get the offer in, follow up is another example on this particular deal as well. But a person's motivation, and you heard about it in this case, military, been relocated, escrow fell out, had to sell, didn't want to go back on market. So price wasn't the most important thing to him.
Mm-hmm.
And so
That's
now,
right.
well, we don't own the home now, but we did own the home, and you're going to see the outcome of what we did. And our after repair value when we bought the home was $835.
Yeah. So when we have a fluff and buff scenario and we run comps for what is our ARV, typically we're looking at turnkey, beautiful houses that's been completely redone. Here in this scenario, it's a little trickier. You have to find comps that are in a similar condition. Like, all right, what's our fluff and buff going to look like? We did see higher comps in the high 8s, some touching 900 that were fully renovated. So we knew that if we could scale it back, 835 made sense based on fluff and buff.
Yep.
And, had we have done a full rehab, and it would have been probably like $125,000 for the rehab. It didn't make sense. Even if you could sell it for 900, it still didn't make sense because it's a longer hold time. Yep. And, with when you analyze properties like this, you have to take into account, the neighborhood and looking at the uniqueness of every house. Yeah. Our house had big views. So, when we're looking at comps, some had no views, some have really steep driveways, which are just nasty. Like, you should drive around sometime and see some of these driveways.
They're pretty gnarly,
You need an off-road vehicle to get up your driveway.
Interestingly enough, the gentleman that bought the home did have an off-road vehicle.
Okay.
He had a Jeep. He liked the location because it was close to where he takes his Jeep for the trails.
Oh, okay.
Now, this particular driveway wasn't as steep where he needed four-wheel drive to get in. But, so we've talked about the term of the week, and Dan's used it a couple times, fluff and buff. What that means is doing the appropriate renovation for the house. And specifically in our office, when we say fluff and buff, it doesn't mean cutting corners. It doesn't mean hiding something. It doesn't mean the lipstick on the pig term that sometimes you may have heard. It means doing the right renovation for that home. And some homes are in good enough condition where you don't need to do everything. The bathrooms are salvageable. You can keep a lot of things, as was the case here. The siding on the outside is very good. Maybe the kitchen doesn't need everything. So it's not getting it. It's doing the right renovation, accounting for the numbers and analyzing it that way. So it's generally doing less work, and sometimes a lot less work, to be able to get the deal and potentially sell it at a better price, because it's not completely renovated, and maybe round up more buyers because it's more affordable.
More affordable, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think a big question a lot of viewers would say is, how do I know when it's a good time to fluff and buff?
Great question.
The answer is always look at the comps.
Yeah.
If you have comps that support that, then that's what you do.
That's a great lesson. And for those of you that are like thirsting for more acquisition knowledge, we have some really awesome training that we do outside of the podcast. If you go to FortuneBuildersShow.com, that's FortuneBuildersShow.com. Or if you're watching this, click on the link below the video that you're watching it on. One of our top trainers teaches an amazing class around acquisitions and funding. And so if you're listening to this saying, man, I want to learn more about how CT Homes buys properties, that's the training you want to go to, FortuneBuildersShow.com. Okay? So awesome example of acquisition. There are many ways to buy homes on the multiple listing service, off the multiple listing service, and variations in between, online, etc. This particular one was on the multiple listing service. We were not the first escrow, which is very common for us with MLS properties. Is someone thinks they can pay more, and maybe they can, maybe they can't. But we don't give up ever. Okay, I'll just leave it at that. So what we're going to do next is talk about the renovation plan. But before we do that, I want to show you the photos of the home when we bought it. And this is the home on San Miguel. Again, not a super attractive home from the outside, but what made it unique, or one of the things that allowed us to proceed with the deal, is the fluff and buff opportunity. Meaning that it didn't need everything. And obviously we needed to refresh it, and we'll definitely look at what that produced. But this is what it looked like before. So obviously there was an individual living there that needed assistance getting up and down the stairs because it has one of those chairs that go up the staircase. The bathrooms were, again, serviceable, not amazing, but definitely not destroyed, as we've seen, and you've probably seen before too. 2-car garage, but as we go inside, it's a newer home in that, what was the year of construction?
Yeah, this was built in 91.
91.
Yeah.
So very new. And 10 years ago when we were buying homes, it was very unlikely that we were going to be able to make a deal out of a home built in the 90s.
Yeah.
But we're not 10 years ago.
And that's something too, when you look at fluff and buff, the year of the house.
The year of the house.
The systems and the mechanicals,
Yeah.
they're typically going to be in pretty good shape.
As an example by this photo, right? This is the heater, right? It's in very good shape. But obviously there's some wear and tear. It's been lived in. It's got some unique colors, but that's easy. Paint's easy to change. This is a view of the foundation, literally carved into Dictionary Hill. As you can see, the topography in this neighborhood and in this part of San Diego is pretty gnarly. You can see why he was giving lots away back then. The way that they did construction back then, radically different. But someone owned this lot for a long time, and in the early 90s, they built the home. But as I go through the photos, right, you can see this is a typical 90s construction. It has, not all 90s homes were built with tile on the countertops, but it was very commonly used. It's good to see these photos because you'll notice when we get to the after photos, when I discuss the renovation plan, that, ooh la la.
Sunken tub.
Did Liberace live there? Look at that thing. That's like a type of sunken tub you'd expect to see in Liberace's house. Wow, that's amazing.
That's impressive. They were doing that in the 90s. I don't remember seeing that in too many homes.
Yeah, and it's not a one-piece tub, right? This is multiple hard surfaces that they, epoxied together. So this is craftsmanship, Dan.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean it definitely is not what people want to see today, but it's not. Do you take it out? Do you not take it out? Well, you're going to find out here in a little bit. But I think what really makes this home unique, and Dan alluded to, and we talked about with the topography of Dictionary Hill, is not the toilet, but what you see out the window. And if I get to a photo there, you'll see what I'm talking about. Ooh, wine fridge? Yes, please. I was just in Napa.
Yeah, I'm guessing a trash compactor used to be in that little spot.
You're probably right. But you're getting a good flavor of the home here, and then I'll get to some view shots here in a second. And here they are. So it's pretty dramatic, right? I mean, that's a that photo doesn't showcase the view as good as it is, but you can see, you're not looking at the ocean necessarily from your backyard, like maybe homes along the coast in La Jolla or Encinitas or Pacific Beach are, but you've got an expansive view that is unique in an affordable neighborhood, because many times you're just looking at the back of your neighbor's fence. That really, in my opinion, Dan, you can tell me if you think differently, I think is the best feature of this home.
100%. Yeah,
Right?
the fact that the whole living room has a pretty good view, not only the ocean, but you get the Sweetwater Reservoir down below, and you're looking over Spring Valley. It's just a nice, there you go. I mean, that's
my gosh.
That's nice.
This is, look at this, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you watching or listening, that's why you want to go back and watch this, is because this picture is dramatic, and that's what someone's going to appreciate about this home in this neighborhood. So we want to enhance that. The backyard, quote unquote, was more just decking, but it was expansive, as you can see in this photo. And so this gives you an idea of the best features of the home, and what the house, what really made the house special in our opinion, and certainly in the opinion of the buyer. So renovation plan was the fluff and buff. That's a reduced scope of work here. So what we did is just what we needed to, not everything. So we did put in a new kitchen, okay, because that's a very important component of the house. We refreshed the bathrooms, which we'll look at after photos here in a moment, which refreshing does not mean Febreze. It means changing some things. And in these bathrooms, we literally just fine-tuned some of the plumbing fixtures, meaning not changing them all, and we put in new mirrors. We left the cabinetry. We did flooring. We did some repairs to the decking. Painted the house, if I didn't say that, inside and out. Actually, no, we didn't paint it on the outside. We power washed the outside.
Yeah.
Painted the inside, and you're going to see the outcome of that in a second. So fluff and buff, again, is a reduced scope of work that's appropriate for the house. Our original budget was $55,000. We actually ended up spending $65,000 at the end of the day, with a little bit more decking repair and some other minor things that we calculated inside that we felt were appropriate. We had a 1.5 month timeline for the project when we bought it. It took us an extra month, which, recently in the market that we're in hasn't hurt us. Market prices have gone up, but we don't want to be relying on that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the case here. And obviously it's an adjusted scope of work from the standpoint of we didn't gut everything because it didn't need everything. Didn't need to be gutted everywhere.
And those timelines are great. It's like
Still
most
good.
of the time we're doing 6 month, 8 month timelines.
Yeah.
And if you can make the same amount of profit in half the time and turn that money and then put it in the next property,
Yep.
always a win.
Yeah. Good example. Great lesson for everyone listening and watching. You do a full gut or full scope of work, bigger scope of work. You're going to spend more. It's going to take longer. Maybe you can sell the house for more, probably can. But if you can spend less on the work, not cut corners, but spend less on the scope of work, take less to do, less cost, less time, put it on the market at a more affordable price, those two scenarios may result in the same net profit.
Yep.
But your return on investment is actually better in the faster scenario because you held it less time. So it's a great way to analyze deals in your market. And like Dan said, you really determine that and back into that by looking at comps. All right, let's see the inside. For those of you not watching, I have a slide that says, let's see the inside. So Dan.
That's pretty clear.
Right?
I like it.
You like
Yeah.
that? Just to remind myself of where we're headed here. So let's see what we did on the inside. Well, obviously we're going to start on the outside. So this is a good photo to highlight certainly the slope of the street, but because of that, we have views. We didn't do much on the outside other than fine-tune the landscaping, clean up what was there, power wash the exterior like we talked about. And then one of the things we've done over the years, as we did here, those of you that aren't watching, I'll describe it, is we built a very simple sort of half trellis protruding.
Yeah.
I think that applies here.
It is protruding.
It is
so that
protruding
works.
out of the front of the house, just above the garage. Because this house, for those of you that are listening, not watching, the front of the house has a very unique look to it. It's got the garage door and then almost 2 stories of just flat wall with one tiny window. It kind of looks like the side of a house that you'd never really pay attention to, but it happens to be the front. But by putting that half trellis protruding out of the front of the house, just above the garage, it breaks up that plane, and it's a long space. If I had to guess, 10, 20, maybe 22 feet approximately of just sided wall. But it gives you dimension, it gives you texture, it changes the aesthetic of the front of the house.
And it's inexpensive too, right? That's
cheap.
a quick, inexpensive way.
$500 right there.
To give it a quick curb appeal pop. That's all we're looking for.
Yep, $500. We do that a lot when, depending on the balance of the home, and if the home, I use the word unique. Some might say ugly,
Or bland,
or plain, but it's unique. And if you focus on the right $500, unique addition, you can turn the home into something that has a lot more curb appeal, as we did here. But you can see how obviously the photos now, the house is clean. We're going to get inside, it's staged. It showcases way different now. We didn't build that deck. It was there. We had to spend a little extra on the wood repair because it's a big deck and a lot of wood. And we wanted to make sure that it was done properly because, in our opinion, best feature of the house. Not sure why there's a keep out sign on the outside. Do we know why that's there?
I think that was there when we bought it.
We just left it?
And, well, we took it down before the listing went live, but I don't know why it was up there for the photos.
It's kind of funny, almost like what? I don't know. Yeah, good question.
It goes with the fluff and buff theme.
It really does. Now, this picture, for those of you that are watching this show, showcases what's really special about this home on San Miguel. And those of you that are listening and aren't watching should go watch this show for this photo. It's a dramatic, expansive view of, like Dan said, Stillwater Reservoir. You're overlooking Spring Valley. You can see the ocean off in the distance, Mexico. It's a badass shot.
It is pretty good.
Yeah. And that's what someone's buying there. They're not buying the $500 trellis that we put in front of the house because they have to have that. They're buying the view, the openness, the outdoor space. That's what makes San Diego special.
An ocean view for under $900,000.
It's
that's
pretty
2,000 square foot house. It's unexpected. The first time I walked in there, I knew it'd get views, but when I walked, I was like, oh my gosh, you can see the ocean.
Pretty jaw dropping.
Yeah.
Our median price point in San Diego now for all inventory attached and detached as of last week was $850,000. And that's a big number for, depending on where you're listening or watching, that might sound crazy to you. Mm-hmm. And it might be depending on where you live. But for San Diego, our median, again, half sell above, half sell below that number is $850,000. It's hard, frankly, to buy a nicely renovated or turnkey move-in ready home for $800,000.
It is hard.
It's hard now. Even in further East County, you're going to have to do some work. May have to do a lot of work. So this home provided a lot, literally right at around the median price point. But let's go ahead and get inside. Man, that deck is cool. It's kind of got that mountainy feel. You almost feel like you're in Idlewild, which is a community east of here that has really cool mountain homes kind of situated amongst the trees. You got eucalyptus trees around this property. This photo showcases that. But you can see we took a lot of outside photos because, again, that is arguably the best feature of this home. The inside, here we go, right? New flooring. You can see that here. Makes a big difference. We obviously took the seat down that was going up the stairs. But this is a vaulted ceiling living room for those of you that aren't watching. You've got a lot of space. You got a fireplace. This is a great room.
It's a great room.
It's a great room. And you can see what staging does to the home. I mean, staging makes an empty, renovated house a home. And this showcases that. I mean, you got color, you got texture, you got the new flooring. That's a cool example. Again, those of you that aren't watching should go back and watch this one so you can see. I mean, we did $65,000 worth of work, but the reality is, we left a lot of the things that were there. And as I said, we did put in a new kitchen, and I'll show you that here in a moment. Man, that staging, they really did a good job there.
Yeah, and that's a good point about staging is
the staging was in this home.
Some investors don't want to spend the money on staging. And, sometimes you can get by with that on a full renovation because, all the finishes are gorgeous. But I have to say, when you do a fluff and buff, always stage it because it'll take your eye off the things that weren't modernized, and it gives it the feel that it's completely renovated.
Absolutely. You know, we always 100% of the time. How many percentage of the time, Dan?
It could be over 100%,
It
maybe.
might be over 100% of the time. Every single one of our homes we stage, whether it's a full renovation, whether it was a fluff and buff like we're looking at here, because staging makes a house a home. Now, we did put in a new kitchen here. You can see the white shaker cabinets and the crystal white quartz that we put in. You know, again, kitchens and baths sell homes. So if you're going to spend money in an area, you know, obviously kitchens, sometimes you have to change the kitchen because it's wrecked or there isn't one there. This particular home, we probably could have gotten by with leaving the kitchen.
We were borderline leaving it. And
Yeah.
I think that's why our budget changed is we looked at comps again and we decided as a team, if we spend a few more bucks on the kitchen, we'll get it back and more.
And that ended up being a reality as we look at the sales here in a second. We kept a wine fridge, but if you're paying attention, we relocated it because it used to be next to the sink, but because we remodeled the kitchen, we made it more functional. We put in a bigger sink, but we did, that's the same wine fridge.
It is the same one. Yeah.
That's another good lesson. So that isn't a new wine fridge in this picture. For those of you that aren't watching, there's a picture of the kitchen looking out over the view. There's a wine fridge in the peninsula. That's the same wine fridge that was in the home when we bought it. Obviously, we cleaned it up. We made it. But it's in great shape. So we saved money there. You know, $200, $250, depending on what size you buy. Man, lots of good lessons here. This is a rockin' case study, Dan. It's going to make that Del Taco for lunch taste that much better.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it.
All right. I mean, I'm going to load mine up with hot sauce. I mean, I might have to add something to my order. I feel like I need to maybe add on
some churros.
Yeah.
There you go.
A little churro action.
It'd be nice if we could eat our lunch on this deck and enjoy the views.
Well, we could knock on the new owner's door and ask. I'm sure he wouldn't mind. All right. So now we're looking in the bathroom. This is a good visual. For those of you that aren't watching, I'll describe it. This is part of this is a picture of the bathroom sink and the mirror above the sink. Excuse me. Hall bath. And not everything in this photo is new. Now, on a quick glance, you might think differently, but we left the cabinetry, we left the countertop, we actually left the classic 90s hardware on the sink. That was used a lot, especially in Dictionary Hill. I feel like lots of homes we've done out there have that. But what we did do is change the lighting. We changed the hardware on the cabinets, some of the cabinets actually, because I see some of them were left. Yeah. And then we put in a new mirror. Is that a perfectly new, completely renovated bathroom? The answer is it is not, but it's a very functional, clean, nice, partly new bathroom for the person that decides to buy this home. And we're in the master retreat now, which also had a fireplace. Vaulted ceilings do a lot for a home. Now, we didn't put those in. Those were already there, which is also pretty standard for 90s construction in a lot of parts of San Diego that we see. But French doors, or double doors going into the bathroom. I got to see what we did to this bathroom. I do know, but I can't wait to see it again. Views out the master. Ladies and gentlemen, watching around the world, ladies and gentlemen, listening around the world, I'll describe it. This is the bathroom in the home. Part is new, part is not new. Okay, can you guess? Dan, can you go ahead and look at that photo? Tell me and tell the viewers or the listeners what's new and what was existing.
You know, it all looks so good. I mean, at first glance, to the untrained eye, somebody could say it's all new.
You're right. Someone could say that.
But then somebody living in the year 2022 would say, I haven't seen a tub like that recently. So
yeah.
So yeah, when you look at it, we added new mirrors, and you can tell by that little light, that little button on the inside. Those are lighted mirrors. So that adds a nice little sizzle feature to the primary bathroom there. New light fixtures. I forget what color the bathroom was. Was it red? Or it was some obnoxious color.
Different color for sure.
So just painted it neutral, and that's it.
That's it.
There you go.
That's it. Right. Kept the shower. Changed. Was that shower head there?
I'm pretty sure that was there.
Yeah. So, you know, is it perfectly renovated, all new? As we've said, it isn't here, but it's in very good shape. And as a result, we were able to bring it on at a more affordable price. Now, the reality is we sold it at a number that we probably would have projected to sell it at if we did the full renovation. And we might have gotten a little more if we did everything. But we'll talk about the sales here in a bit. Everyone kind of gets the flavor of the home now that we've gone through them. Yeah, postcard. There's your postcard shot there. Yep, there she is, ladies and gentlemen. But again, right? Staging, color, all this works if you're looking at the photos and watching this. If not, again, you should go back and really see how we blended what was left and what we added, and staging is kind of the glue that brings it all together. All right, so everyone has a good idea of what we did to the home. We just saw inside the home. So let's talk about the sales process, Dan, and bring this miraculous or awesome case study to a close. Sales systems, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so we listed the home on March 24th of the year 2020.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we did list the home at $799,000. Now, for those of you paying attention, you might remember that we had a different after repair value when we bought the home. So did the value go down? Did we miss the mark on the ARV? Or did we decide to price it competitively, aggressively on the affordability side? Strategically. God, so many good adjectives. To get more people interested in looking at it, even in a competitive market like we've been in San Diego with low inventory. And the answer is the latter. We listed it. That's a good threshold, right? We had an 835 ARV, but do you list it there? Do you not? It really depends on your market and what's, you can test these different things. What's working really well, and this is a good lesson for everyone listening and watching, really well, not just in San Diego, but is pricing it, at a more competitive, lower number, strategically, in this case, $799, to get hopefully more interest. And we've tested it both ways, and that's working well. Go ahead.
Yeah, not to cut you off, JD, but it goes back to knowing your market. And you mentioned in San Diego that the median price point for the county is $850.
Yeah.
You need to know what's the median price point for your zip code as well. And when we look at Spring Valley, when we went to list it, it was $720. But you also need to know what's the average size of house there. So the average size house in Spring Valley is 1,600 square feet. We were a little over 2,000 square feet.
Yep, so we offered more square footage.
And at the 720, that's, half those houses are updated, half are not.
Yeah.
So again, when we decide on a list price, if we can have a 7 in front of it, which the median price point also has a 7 in front of it, psychologically, it makes more sense, to bring it on at that number. Knowing it's going to go over, and, just comparing it to the overall county median price, we're way more affordable.
Absolutely. And some might be thinking, well, if you price it lower, are you risking the chance of getting offers at a lower number below what the value is? And of course, the answer to that question is yes. But buyers with agents that are knowledgeable and know the market will flush themselves out and produce a proper offer for the value of the home. If not, and they offer below what the home is really worth, that can really tell you something about the agent that's representing the buyer and what you may or may not want to do in terms of making a decision to counter those buyers. We had 2 open houses. Obviously for a lot of time recently, open houses weren't being used because of COVID and whatnot. But I think now if you're able to do them in your marketplace, they always help. Again, not every home, in fact, most don't sell through an open house. But any chance you can get more people into a home, the better. We had 2 open houses. We received our first offer on, Dan, March 25th of this same year, 2022.
So now, the day after it was listed.
I was going to ask if you're good at math and remember the day we listed it for. There's 1 day difference.
I am good at math.
Okay.
Yeah, I got that 1 day down.
All right,
that
good.
was tough.
Yeah, it was a teaser.
I appreciate the test.
You're welcome. So we got an offer quickly, which was the goal of the list price. The initial offer that we received was $885,000. So wow, right out of the gate, higher than our ARV. That's a function of a lot of things. It's a great listing that we'll look at here in a second. Great photos, great staging. Obviously, market dynamics have a play in that too. We have very low inventory in San Diego. That may be the case for you as well in your marketplace. But the marketplace told us that they want this home, where they wanted the home. It was attractive, and part of that, of course, was the work that we did and the pricing strategy. We ended up accepting a price of that same initial offer. Dan,
same buyer.
Same buyer, the gentleman that had the Jeep that wanted the trails nearby. Can you read that accepted price offer, Dan?
$905,000.
Now, I didn't study physics and I'm not a math whiz, but what's the difference between the initial offer price and the offer accepted price?
$20K.
$20,000. So just because someone offers a great price, that's a good start, as we always say.
Mm-hmm.
But if you feel confident, you know your marketplace, and a buyer's qualified for more, you're checking your inventory. There's a lot of different things that can help you formulate how you counter and what number you get to. But we felt that we could easily compete with homes that were 100% renovated for the reasons Dan mentioned. We have more square footage. We have amazing views in this home. And also, I knew something about the buyer, just like you were talking about the seller.
Okay.
Right? And I've mentioned it a couple times because I asked the agent when I called from the offer that they wrote at $885. Absolutely loves the location, right around the corner from the Jeep trails. He's a Jeep owner, right? I've never met the gentleman personally, although Michelle or Angel did when they went to the home inspection. But I knew that it checked a lot of boxes for him because I asked those questions. So let me ask you a question. With knowing more about the buyer and the fact that the home that we're trying to sell checks a lot of their boxes, do you feel less or more confident countering at a stronger number?
Oh, way more confident.
Way more confident.
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding. Good answer, Dan. So we had 1 day on market. It's not bad.
It's hard to beat that. Yeah.
It's hard
unless
to beat
you're going to
that.
pre-sell it. That's unbeatable.
1 day on market, and our total escrow time, ladies and gentlemen, cats and dogs, boys and girls, listening, watching around the world, meaning from when we opened escrow to when we sold it, were 14 days. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, it's got to be a cash offer. Actually, that's not the case here. They had financing. So cash, financing, obviously two different ways to buy homes. There are advantages and disadvantages to all of them, but to us as the seller, it's cash to us at the end of the day, either way. So if we can feel super confident, as I did, because I negotiated this sale, with the buyer financed, pre-approved, talk to the lender, do all that quickly, don't tell me you can't close a home in less than 30 days or less than 21 days. Because as the quarter has started for us, Q2 here, I'm going to give you 4 numbers: 14, 14, 13, and 14.
Okay.
Those are 4 numbers. Do you have any idea what those represent?
Well, since we're talking about total escrow time,
Yes.
I'm gonna just probably say that was probably some quick finance closings.
Yeah.
That
So
we
the
had.
first 4 sales that we've had, Missouri, San Miguel, Oak Glen, and Loma Valley, closed escrow time 14, 14, 13, 14.
That's very impressive.
That's
It
called
really is.
That's called crushing it, ladies and gentlemen. And that's not unique because I'm JD or we're CT Homes or this is Dan Wright or we've been doing this a long time. It's education. It's listening to trainings like this. It's getting more information at FortuneBuildersShow.com. It's understanding your market. It's being confident in your negotiation. It's a lot of different things. It's being prepared when you go to sell a home. So we have something called pre-open escrow, which is, when we open escrow here in San Diego, no matter what escrow company we use, they always need the same things. LLC docs, there's certain forms that need to be completed. We don't wait to do that until we open escrow. We already do that and give that to the escrow company. Then we select the escrow when we go to sell, in this case, Alliance Escrow. And Justin, one of the owners of Alliance, has been on the show before. But that's how you get a 21-day closing, which is what we had agreed to in contract, done in 14 days. And my general rule of thumb is once we've had the home inspection, once any request for repairs have been negotiated and agreed to, then it's go time to closing faster. And a lot of that has to do with you as the seller being prepared, getting work done fast, getting escrow what they need, communicating with the buyer and the agent. And then some of that, and I think it's less than 50%, has to do with the buying side. In my experience, if you do a good job of pre-screening your buyer up front. So lots to learn there. Now, part of selling a home well is how you describe it to the masses and put it out there. What you're looking at now, if you're not watching, you're listening, there's a top, third or top half of the MLS listing sheet here. How you release the property to the community and how you market it out of the gate is important. How you price it, which we've talked about, the photos you've used. You'll notice in this listing, Dan, I didn't use a picture of the front of the house.
Thank you for not doing that.
As picture number 1, The reason is, normally when you list a home, the first photo that you put online or on the listing or on your website is the front of the home. In this house, that was absolutely not the best photo of the home.
No.
In fact, arguably the worst. So instead of that, those of you that aren't watching, that are listening, we used one of the best view shots of the backyard deck looking out over Spring Valley. And so now we're highlighting the best features of the home, not bringing attention to the worst or the least attractive. That's important. Obviously, accurate information, square footage, bedroom, bathroom count are important. We use all components of the MLS listing, the confidential remarks, even areas that we don't have to use. There are many that we do, but like the confidential remarks here, which I don't think we've talked about in a case study before, but I'll read it. Please email offers to, that's our sales team email, certified with a 3-year home warranty. So we, as the seller on all of our homes, we prepay for a standard 3-year home warranty that a buyer can elect, on their own when they buy a home. We just automatically pay for 3 years. That's in the confidential remarks. Certified 3-year home warranty. Okay. See attachments. So we have information about the home warranty company that we use in the attachments. Any new appliances convey with manufacturer warranties. Agent has interest in the property. That's us disclosing, although we don't have to do it here, but us disclosing that me as the listing agent, I do have an interest in CT Homes, right? Over disclosure is good. Please call JD, that's me, ladies and gentlemen, that you've been listening to for part of this training along with Dan, with questions about the home and to discuss offers. I always want to have I'd really always like to have a conversation with buyers, agents before they submit an offer. That doesn't always happen, but that last line is sort of, asking them to do that.
Yeah, and it's pivotal. Like a good learning lesson is when we listed at $799, we're not hoping we get up to our original ARV of $835. We've already studied the comps. We've called the pendings. We have a very solid idea that this is going to trade in the high 8s. Mm-hmm. Maybe we get 9. Yeah. That way, when you're putting that in the remarks to call JD, it gives you a chance to help coach the other agent if they need coaching to say, hey, look at this comp over on this street. Yeah. Look at this comp over on this street. That'll help your buyer see the value of where this house is ultimately going to trade at. So that really prevents a lot of lowball offers that may come in, and it gives them a chance to put their best foot forward right out of the gate.
And I always tell agents that when they call, if they call. Not everyone does, but it also, if they do or don't, tells me a lot about the agent. I always like to communicate directly to the agent, say, I appreciate you calling. Glad you did, because I always like to give you as the buyer's agent in this competitive market the best information I can, so you can take that to your client and put them in the best position to write the strongest offer. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's almost a direct quote of what I say, because now it'll change, but now it's a very aggressive seller's market. It's way swung towards the sales side because there's low inventory in a lot of markets, San Diego being one of them. So buyer looking out there, it's tough. It's tough out there as a buyer now. If your agent isn't doing everything that they can, and I think one of those things is definitely calling the other side. And I happen to be also an owner and a decision maker and the listing agent, so they get even better information from me. And that's a lesson for everyone watching or listening, is that you don't have to list your homes. In fact, you can hire an agent to do it. Maybe it's a relist from the agent that brought you the deal. But if you as the decision maker can give valuable information, within what's what I'm looking for, ethics, right? Not playing offers against each other, doing it the right way, you can really arm your buyer's agents and your buyers to produce the best offer and find the best buyer. Mm-hmm. Selling a home fast is a lot of things. It's being upfront, providing a great listing, a great product, a great home, and then it's tying into emotion and creating momentum. And so if you sit back and wait for a buyer to perform and do all those things that they're supposed to do, that may or may not happen.
Right.
Now here's the listing, or the remarks in the listing right out of the gate. We're not saying, beautiful front, beautiful
amazing curb appeal.
Amazing curb appeal. No, that's not what the first words are. The first words are panoramic views, for those of you that aren't watching. This gorgeous home sits on top of Dictionary Hill with sweeping views of the hillside and Sweetwater Reservoir. Enjoy clear mornings sipping coffee while overlooking. This is so great for everyone listening and watching that you can apply to your listings. Overlooking the breathtaking views from your expansive deck or warm evenings gathering around your outdoor fireplace, which this home had. This home maximizes indoor and outdoor living with views from the living room, dining room, kitchen, and master retreat. Vaulted ceilings create a bright and airy feel with ample natural light. Come experience this hillside retreat for yourself.
Question for you, JD.
Yes, Dan.
What makes it a retreat? In your professional opinion?
It's a great question. The fact that I use the word.
That's great. And that's what I was hoping for.
That's it. I mean, that a bathroom can be a nicely renovated bathroom, or it can be a custom retreat.
Yeah. I think it's in the eye of the buyer.
Eye of the buyer. And how you tell the story in the description.
Absolutely.
So, we're having some fun here and what we're talking about, but the reality is a great description will do a lot for you and the next home that you sell, or it can do the opposite if you don't write a great description. So it's telling a story. It's highlighting the features that are the best about the home. It's using words and phrases that bring emotion into the discussion. It's not abbreviating words. It's not saying too much, but not saying too little.
Yeah. What's funny is you see a lot of listings where they state the absolute obvious.
Yeah.
This is a 3-bedroom home with 2 bathrooms.
2-car garage.
Yeah. Stainless steel appliances. That doesn't help any listing. It
No
never
emotion.
does. That's in the pictures, and it's in the it's up top in the MLS stating the facts of the house. You made a great point. It's your chance to tell the story about the house.
Mm-hmm.
Like as you read it, I pictured myself drinking coffee on that deck, looking at the ocean.
I absolutely did too, and I don't even drink coffee anymore. All right, so one of the things we've talked about on previous case studies, and we mentioned it here in this one too, is we certify, quote unquote, our homes, which is a list of things that we don't always do on every home, but we do some of them. And this is something you can adopt in your sales cycle if you want. Virtual home tour. We might sometimes, not normally now, have already a home inspection report done, a termite report, which we always do. I mentioned the 3-year home warranty. Sometimes we'll have a lender ready to go for a buyer if they don't have one. Appraisal report sometimes. So these are some things that we can, not all of them on every property, but do provide some of them on properties depending on what it needs so that the buyer can feel more comfortable buying from us and can actually buy the home faster, which also means that we can do what?
Get our proceeds faster.
Sell the home faster,
Yeah.
Dan.
Yeah.
Good answer. All right. Now let's wrap this puppy up and let's look at the numbers. Again, we bought the home for $650,000. That was our effective price after the commission came back. We did buy it on my son's 5th birthday, which was November 30th last year, 21. Our initial after repair value when we bought it was $835,000. We felt that strongly the market value when we went to list it, which was, we weren't going to get less than this, was $875,000 based on the comps. We obviously did get more than that because of the things that we've already talked and taught you in this training, in this case study. We spent about $65,000 in renovation. We had financing costs of about a little over, but $18,000 plus. Transactional costs, that's commissions to the buyer's agent, that's taxes, that's insurance, that's closing costs, that's staging, that's utilities, and I think I covered most of those things there. $40,000. We sold the home for $905,000 American dollars, not to be confused for those of you listening internationally with any other currency, depending on where you're at. And we sold the property on, Dan, can you read the date of the sale?
April 8th of 2022.
That was so recent, I can almost smell the coffee from the back deck of this home. I mean, this is hot off the presses. Now, you're probably wondering, well, what was the profitability of this deal? Dan, I'm glad you asked.
I'm curious to know. Yeah, what
so
is it?
Our gross profit, and I use the word gross here because, not because it's nasty or not looking good, but we have expenses that come out of this as a company and things that have to be paid, salaries, commissions, etc. But after we close out the deal with the financing costs, transactional costs, etc., we made $129,807.57. Now, that's not that seems like a very arbitrary exact number because it is. We use QuickBooks for accounting. We account for everything. When we close out, we don't just hope and pray that we made some money or we made about this. We know you should know what you made. And this isn't an average profit for us by any means, but when you go into the marketplace the right way and buy properties the right way, and you can go to FortuneBuildersShow.com to get more information about acquisitions and financing, as I mentioned earlier. When you understand what the right renovation is, in this case, our term fluff and buff coming back as the term of the week, and we don't spend more than we need to, but not spend less than we have to. And you know your marketplace, you write a great listing description and take great photos, you do staging, you get that extra bean and cheese burrito with red sauce at lunch, good things happen.
Yeah. You know what's fun is it's always good as a case study. We're doing it now. But it's also good to look at it like, what if we would have done a full rehab? What would those numbers have looked like with the current comps? And it would be half that. We probably could have gotten 950 with a full renovation.
Yeah.
Our renovation would have been double and our hold time would have doubled. Yeah. And at the end of the day, we would have made less had we have done the full scope.
So that's really the biggest lesson of this case study, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cats and dogs, is that, not every home needs to be completely gutted. And this is a prime example of that. And sometimes you can make more money when you do that. And that's why we wanted to bring this case study to you. It's super recent, super fresh, super awesome. Dan, thank you once again for joining us on this
thank you,
Case
JD.
Study Club episode 4 or 5. Or 3 or 4, I'm forgetting now. But we're going to bring these to you more frequently, once a month, which has been about a month, I think, since we did a case study. I want to thank all of you for watching and listening. Give us some comments below the show. Tell us what you want to learn more about or hear more about. Like us, subscribe, share with friends and family, boys and girls, cats and dogs, all that good stuff. But in all sincerity, we really appreciate everyone listening and watching. We really enjoy doing these episodes, and we really look forward to seeing you on the next podcast. So catch you then. Thanks, Dan.
All right. See you at lunch, JD.
All right.